Welcome back to the Challenger podcast, everyone. This is Dave Glazer in Fort Collins, Colorado. I took last week off from the podcast to take a men's trip up to Glacier National Park, coming back refreshed and invigorated to help us kind of navigate the next half of the series that we're doing on fatherhood. I want to talk today about why putting yourself first makes you a better dad as the Enneagram 8. Hopefully, you've been enjoying the series up till now. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out or follow me on TikTok at FitLifeChampions. Subscribe to this podcast and share this episode with one person that you feel would get a huge value out of the conversation today. Let's dive right in. Before we start on practical applications of how the Enneagram 8 can take better care of themselves to be a better father, I want to acknowledge the strength and intensity of the Enneagram 8. The Challenger personality type is the one that I relate to most. And we've been going over this series over the last month or so, talking about how the intensity can show up as overbearing and how we can actually regulate our nervous system in order to help our children thrive. The question we want to answer today is, why do strong leaders sometimes neglect themselves to serve others? If you're an Enneagram 8 father, you might be known for your drive, protection, and strength. But what happens when your fierce loyalty to others comes at the cost of your own well-being? What I like to call the self-neglecting protector is when the Enneagram 8 begins to put his needs on the back burner behind either family, coworkers, people that he is in charge of, in the leadership of. And it can show up as hyper responsibility, definitely a pattern of prioritizing others' needs and suppressing their own vulnerability by saying, I have no needs. So, what we're going to answer in today's podcast episode is, why do strong leaders sometimes neglect themselves to serve others? This can tend to lead to burnout, irritability, control issues, or emotional disconnection from self. A real life example is when I was running my business, building it up to near six figures after the first 5 years. I tended to put my clients' needs, my partner's needs, and my daughter's needs ahead of my own at that time. And ultimately, it led to self-sabotage and inner destruction, or a subconscious destruction of where the business was headed and what direction it was going. The myth that Enneagram 8 fathers face is that I'm strong enough to push through. And throughout today's episode, we're going to explore the belief that rest or self-care equals weakness for the Enneagram 8. And I can definitely relate to that perspective. Although, as I age, I have come to understand that taking care of myself, putting my needs as a priority, helps me become a better father, partner, coworker, and leader. I want to challenge the notion that you've held on to for so very long that serving others means sacrificing yourself. What we're going to ultimately come to is a reframe that taking care of ourselves actually empowers us to be a better leader in order to care for others. I want to highlight how this pattern can actually undermine your leadership in your own home, at work, and in your hobbies. As a jiu-jitsu athlete, I need to put my safety above all else. I need to put my training path above all else, while also contributing and giving back to the community that I pour so much into. Now that I'm coaching the junior grapplers and the advanced teens classes, I'm definitely seeing how contributing and pouring back into that community can certainly empower me and give me a stronger purpose in life. But if I were to do it too much, I would definitely begin to neglect myself and become irritable and resentful. So, how do we turn self-care into a perspective of strength? How can we make self-care a strength? This was a turning point for me in my own life. I want to reframe self-care as discipline, not indulgence. I want to take care of my own physical health through regular exercise. High intensity interval training is probably the best way that fathers and dads and Enneagram 8s can connect to self. If they have weight loss goals, you're going to get the most bang for your buck out of high intensity interval training. It's the discipline of regular exercise that actually empowers the Enneagram 8 and fathers to become the best version of themselves. When they get out of their body and into their head, that's when putting the needs of others above their self is actually going to lead to resentment. regular physical exercise like my jujitsu practice or running hill sprints or weightlifting in the gym. And through that discipline, it tells me that I care for myself and that I put my needs at the forefront so that I can have more energy, so that I can have more discipline in my own life and show up better for my family, my partner, and my children. I also want to talk about how putting a priority on upholding your boundaries, routines, and that physical care can support the Enneagram 8's core desire for control and autonomy. Going to the gym 4 or 5 days a week on your own, maybe to meet up with a friend, that's totally fine too if you have a training partner. But going to the gym shows you that you care for yourself. It's a boundary. Every day or 4 to 5 days a week, I'm going to set aside this hour in my day to take care of myself, to prioritize myself, my health. And the discipline it takes to get to those goals is the work. That is going to align with the Enneagram 8's core desire for control and autonomy and actually help you build resilience, build dedication, build new routines, and help you become a better father. It's not new that tending to your body and soul sharpens your capacity to lead with presence and peace. And that is what we are truly aiming for when it comes to the Enneagram 8. Get out of your head and get into your body is the best solution that I can provide for you today to help you reach your goals of becoming a better father, partner, coworker, and leader. Here's how we're going to build a strong foundation for the Enneagram 8 to implement self-care into their lives. You're going to set boundaries. I know it sounds hard and I know it sounds fluffy, but boundaries are learning to say no so that you can model healthy limits for your children, your partner, and those people that you influence in your life. By setting routines in your daily schedule, you're anchoring the day with rhythm and predictability, which gives you that sense of control and autonomy as an Enneagram 8. That's our core desire, and that's what we flourish in and around is rhythm and predictability. We can become the best version of ourselves when the little things are taken care of. The things that we need to keep discipline around every single day, when they're taken care of, we can be the best version of ourselves. Exercise and health needs to be a top priority. When you use physical outlets like jujitsu, a weight training program, hill sprints, regular long endurance training, you can use this for energy regulation and emotional release. Jiu-jitsu has always been more than just a physical practice. It's always been a mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial practice for me. Implementing reflecting practices or reflection practices into your daily routine is extremely helpful to get out of your head, get those thoughts on paper. So journaling or stillness like meditation can connect you with your emotional truth. Get out of your head and into your body with breath work. And if you have any thoughts on how you want to implement that in your life, I can be your guide. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And then finally, creating support systems in your life so that letting others help is an act of courage, not weakness. And coming back from my weekend in Glacier National Park, I definitely see the impact and the efficacy of getting together in person with men who are like-minded, headed in the same direction, and share your need for contribution and receiving. How this impacts fatherhood directly is children can benefit from a regulated, energized, and present father. If you're up in your head all day, every day, you're not going to be any good for the partner that you have at home, the children that you're raising, or the people that you're leading in your professional life. And then finally, I want to talk about how you can care for both others and yourself, because when you prioritize yourself, you're definitely going to be able to care for others. Not take care of others, care for others. That helps us build emotional trust and safety in your family when they know that you're showing up regulated, energized, and present. Not to mention you're passing on resilience with that tenderness that you're implementing through discipline, routine, and regulation practices. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. As we close it out, I want to share some final thoughts and encourage you to implement these practices in your life. I want to absolutely normalize the challenge it is for Enneagram 8s to pause and receive help, which is an act of self-care. I definitely want to reaffirm that your inner strength is your gift to the world. But I want to challenge you to direct some of that power inward and definitely care for yourself while caring for others. Lastly, the one call to action that I want you to take this week is to implement one self-care step into your routine each week. Do you need to meditate for 10 minutes at the beginning of the day? Do you need to work out for 30 minutes at the start of your day so that everything else becomes easier? Or do you want to try something new that you've always been passionate about that you want to learn over time to implement and install that discipline in your weekly routine? And then finally, let's close it out with an opportunity for hope and inner reflection. You don't have to lose yourself to be a great dad. You have to find yourself first. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We're going to be talking a lot more about embodiment practices over the next few weeks and how you can implement them in your life to become a better father, the best version of your Enneagram 8 self, and don't hesitate to reach out for support along the way. I'm Dave Glazer in Fort Collins, Colorado, wishing you health and happiness wherever you're at in the world. If you're looking for more information on workout programs, please visit my website, fitlifechampions.com, and try a free week of our online training program with regular connection calls with me as your coach. Until next week, talk to you soon.